All right, I'll give it until.
Hi, Sharon.
Hey, Sharon.
Yeah, I have 1 minute till.
Yes, I see that. At least we're in a good spot. We're early.
We're all ready.
Sort of.
And we can hear you.
Yes.
Everything's working.
For now.
Yeah.
Tree looks great in the background.
Thank you. I turned my laptop around. I usually face the tree, so it's a nice view. But I thought, oh, it's a holiday. I will turn it this way. The LED lights, though, so blue. You drive down the street and you just see that blue coming through the window.
All right. Well, I think we have the time at 6:15. So I'm going to go ahead and call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals and Property Review Commission today, December 15th, 2020, and it's 6:15. And Pam, if you would please go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Burke?
Here.
Mr. Costi?
Here.
Mr. Ogrid?
Here.
Ms. Schroeder?
Here.
And Chair Brinegar?
Here. All right, good to have a full house here. The first item of business is to approve prior minutes from our September 15th meeting. I know, first I'll give a shout out to Philip for all his detailed corrections. So thank you, Pam, for sending that back out. I don't know if there's any other changes noted for the minutes. Okay, if not, is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll motion to approve.
Second.
All right, a motion was made by Mr. Ogrid to approve the minutes of, was it September 15th, 2020? And this was seconded by Ms. Schroeder. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent work. Okay, so on now to our function with zoning appeals. And we have one case before us today, a variance case. It's VA 20-10, and it's located at 4085 Eckworth Drive, and it's a variance for an accessory structure from section 18.05A in the code. And as we typically do for each of these cases, we'll start with a staff summary. We will have the property owner will have a chance to give input. There's a chance for public input, which there may or may not be tonight. And then we will close the public portion of the meeting, and then the board will discuss and make a decision. So without further ado, I will pass it to you, Jess, to give us the staff perspective, a summary of the case.
Okay, so the request is to install a garage in the rear yard of the property located at 4085 Eckworth Drive. The request is for a variance from section 18.05A from the zoning ordinance. The reason for the request is because of a gas line that runs through the property. If the property owner were to go to any closer, they would encroach on that gas line. So that's why they are requesting the variance, to allow them to place the garage at 5 feet rather than from the side yard, which typically is 8 feet. The applicant's name is Kelco Group. The address, of course, is 4085 Eckworth Drive, and the property owner is Thomas and Amy Crawford. The property is located approximately 470 foot east of the intersection of Weller Lane and Eckworth Drive in the city of Bellbrook. There is a 10-foot utility easement along the rear yard, including properties that are adjacent to lot 457, which is 4085 Eckworth Drive. The garage is an 18 by 24, 432 square foot garage. It will be approximately 13 feet and 4 inches in height. It'll be approximately 46 feet from the rear yard. And according to section 1805A, in a residential zone, no garage or other accessory structure, building shall be erected within a required side yard or front yard when located at least 60 feet from the front property line and completely to the rear of the main dwelling. The accessory building may be erected not less than 8 feet from the side or rear lot lines, provided that when access to the garage is from an alley, such garage shall be located not less than 10 feet from the alley. Given the location of the current gas line and the location of the property owner's current driveway, staff would see no issue if the board should decide to approve this variance request. And that's all I have for this particular request.
Any questions for Jess, having given the summary? Okay. Thankfully, this one seems a little more straightforward than some we've had. It's now at this point that we can allow the property owners or representatives can give input. So Pam, we have, and if anybody who wishes to speak too, I'll just give you a heads up. Pam will need to swear you in.
I was on mute. So Chris, if you could raise your right hand for me. Do you swear that all the information that you give the board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so now it's a chance for you to state your name, address, and to give us your commentary.
My name's Chris Keller, Keller, with Kelco Group, LLC. Our address is P.O. Box 39, Springboro, Ohio, 45066.
Okay.
And I did all that just to say I agree with what she said. That was exactly the variance.
Okay. And so so what's your connection to the
We're
property
building-
owners?
We're building the garage,
We're building, okay.
and we put in the variance, and we'll put in all the building and zoning permits.
Okay. Does anybody, I mean, it's also a chance that, if people had questions for you, they, can ask that. I don't know if anybody has any pressing questions.
So is this there's not a formal easement for this, is there? It's just the knowledge that it's there, the gas line?
Yes.
Is there a garage door going on the kind of the side facing the house? Is that why it's 18 to support like a 16-foot garage door, or what's on the front?
There's a 10-foot garage door on the front, and we're just trying to keep it in that 600 square feet of accessory buildings,
Okay.
because he already has one in his backyard.
Yeah, I was just trying to gauge why the 18-foot exactly that would be needed.
Yeah, I did note that there is an accessory structure there already, and it sounds like they're keeping that. Maybe this is more relevant for later when we discuss, but just, is there a limit to how many they can have?
There sometimes is a limit if it's exceeds a certain percentage over the lot, but they're not at this point.
Not at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
What will the new garage be made of? Is it wood or metal or siding?
It'll be made out of wood and siding, same siding as their house.
Okay. Is it going to have a cement footer base?
Yes.
And so forth? Okay. And will it have electric also?
Yes.
Or not?
Yes.
Will there be any trees or gardens that will be moved or removed from the existing property?
No.
Okay.
Not for, I guess the way to put that is, we won't be removing anything to be able to build the garage. I'm not sure if the homeowner, he doesn't need to remove anything.
Okay, there's not like a big tree or something right there, or it's, okay.
No,
Didn't
sir.
look, it didn't look like there was when I drove by, but just wanted to make sure. Will the driveway continue on into the back where the garage is located, or how, is there access, or how
Correct.
is that? Okay.
Yeah, he'll use another contractor to come in and the same one pouring the footer and the foundation and then the slab. And then once that's done, then they'll come in and pour the pad that will meet the other pad.
Okay, so it'll
To
be
its
just a
side driveway.
continuation of the concrete all the way. Okay,
Correct.
all right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any further questions for Mr. Keller?
Just a quick question. It looks like, so with the shifting it to the side as it's drawn, that leaves, what's it say, plus or minus 3 or 4 feet. I guess I'm not a building expert. Is that generally what you want to leave around a gas line?
Yeah, I don't think we need more than 2 feet, but it's really the footer with how wide the footer is. They just don't want to come anywhere near it.
Right. Okay.
It generally depends on how deep the gas line is. Like if the gas line was, 20 feet deep, then of course that would be, way too short of a distance. But if the developer has spoken with, I believe, Vectren, the gas company, and they have suggested that he place it in this location. So.
Okay, perfect.
Just a clarification, this is a Vectren gas line. It's not some other private or other gas line. It's a public utilities gas line.
Yes, it is for the public. Yep.
Okay.
Also, I want to point out that we haven't received any feedback from the public that's negative. We have received two emails in support of the request. So.
Jessica, those 2 emails that we got in support, I guess I didn't notice exactly what their address was. I assume those were the neighbors.
Yes, so they would have received they would have had to receive the public notice from mailing or seen it posted at the post office. So.
Looks like one is on Eckworth and one is in the rear on South Linda. Is there any concern with the neighbor's fence? Is it too close, or is there any problem with the neighbor's fence?
I don't believe so. I mean, he was okay with it. They're even talking about taking it down to bring the material around so we're not taking a chance of doing any damage to the driveway. And he's like, that's fine as long as you just put it back up when you're done.
I think we lost our leader.
Oh, no. Wait, really?
It looks like she dropped off.
If we get her back here. No.
She jinxed herself by talking about her new equipment.
Yeah.
I don't know when she dropped off.
Oh, no, I was taking notes. I wasn't expecting anybody to skip out early. Where did she go? Oh, I'm sure she's not happy.
Yeah, I know. Right.
Meredith. Knocking stuff over. Oh, there she comes. Hold on.
Okay. Sorry about that. I just switched to my phone. I don't know what's going on with my computer. So, do you want
All
to
that
come
new
in?
software.
I know, right?
Ah,
Okay, so I think where things fell off for me was, I know Jess had mentioned the 2 emails in support, and it sounds like that's probably the extent of what we'll get for public input tonight.
yes.
Okay. Apologies if we already discussed this. Did any other questions before we close the public portion of the meeting? Okay. Well, we will go ahead and close the public portion, and now we will just a chance to discuss. I know for me, this feels pretty straightforward. It feels like it's kind of we've had some complicated cases, but this feels like the spirit of often why we should grant a variance when there's sort of an unexpected or undue hardship with the gas line. So I don't see, it seems pretty straightforward with me. I don't see a problem with approving it.
Yeah, the neighbors seem to support it, and that would probably be the important thing for me. And they seem like they're supporting it, so they worked out a good relationship there. And trying to reduce the size of that dimension, that 18-foot dimension, to give the 8-foot distance required, I think that would be just an unreasonable garage. It wouldn't be big enough. So I think it's a reasonable request.
I agree. That was my take on it as well. There wasn't really another option given where the gas line is. And like Glenn said, they've already spoken with the neighbors, or at least the neighbors have chimed in, and they seem to be fine with it. And so I don't see any problem with it either.
Yeah, I think I sort of echo Meredith's comments about this is kind of the point of granting variances, these undue hardships that are discovered, and I don't think I have any issues.
Yeah, something like that comes up. The building is underneath the 600 square foot requirement. It's just a matter of where do you put it, and you can't put it on top of the gas line apparently. So,
And you can't put it on the other side of the house either,
right,
because of the way the driveway is.
And the driveway already kind of goes back a bit. So yeah.
Yeah, that looks like the right place to put that structure. So,
Well, I'd make
All
a
right,
motion to approve the variance request then.
yeah,
Thank
I'll
you.
second that.
A motion was made by Mr. Burke to approve variance 20-10, accessory structure variance at 4085 Eckworth Drive, and this was seconded by Mr. Ogrid. Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Ogrid.
Yes.
Mr. Costi.
Yes.
Ms. Schroeder.
Yes.
And Chair Brinegar.
Yes. All right, so the motion for the variance passes. And then I think Jess, as always, will be in touch with the property owners to sort through the details of that.
I'll send the approved permits over.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so that concludes our discussion for the case VA 20-10. We have on our agenda a chance to talk about property maintenance, as well as I know there was new business also related to the property maintenance code. So Jess, I don't know if that's something you wanted to give us some updates on.
So we have, over the course of the year, been updating various sections of code. One of them in particular is our vacant property registration code, and soon will be our property maintenance code. So I guess we would like input from the board. Correct me, Pam, did they receive the vacant property registration?
I have not sent that out yet. So
Okay.
I figured we'd
so-
tell them about it before I
Okay.
shot them an email with it.
So one of the things I really want, when you see the vacant property registration, look it over and see how well you think that suits Bellbrook. And then as well, we haven't quite started on the property maintenance section of the code. However, the vacant property registration is a big chunk of that regardless. So what I would like maybe for tonight is to get maybe a couple of ideas from you as to what specifically you might feel are key areas of our current property maintenance code that could potentially be items that we should really work on.
You know, this is Glenn. I know that one of my first meetings of the board, there was a discussion about dealing with people saying that wood stored on your property was, you know, not organized or organized, and there seemed to be some confusion there. That I wasn't part of those discussions, but it sounds like previous cases had come up, and the language used about brush versus firewood piles for firewood. I know that came up as a discussion.
Yeah, the definition of a pile came up before, that, if they just dump wood, it's quote unquote still a pile, but it looks terrible.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely something that we can start to work on in that section of code, and that will help give us a good starting point. Are there any others?
It seemed like, and again, this is more for the vacant property. I mean, I know there were some issues with like when, if they're harboring like rodents or animals in there. I don't know if that could have been clearer, or is it a one-time thing? I guess that's been a concern, right? Of some of the vacant properties is the animals kind of coming in and out of that.
Yeah.
And to be able to act, at what point does it become a health hazard or not?
Yeah. So the vacant property registration is meant to help with preventing it from getting to rodent harborage. But that doesn't mean that a house might not already be there or get to that point at some point. So I think perhaps what we should look into is ways to approach that where we're really clear on what we don't want to see with that and ways we can mitigate it.
So back me up then for a minute, Jess, if you don't mind. So tell me that the goals then for the vacant property registration is like as soon as the property becomes vacant, this would be sort of some way to document that or to.
Yeah, actually, I should have said this to you guys. While you guys are talking, I'm gonna, if I'm staring off into space, it's because I have to switch around stuff.
Okay.
But I'll get that one emailed to you right now.
Okay.
So with vacant property registration, what we want to happen is there are a lot of properties that in the city of Bellbrook sit vacant, and it ends up being cheaper on the property owner to allow that property to sit vacant and to become dilapidated than it is to sell it or to deal with their fine. It's cheaper for them to get their fines because our fines aren't high enough, for instance. So what our current revamp of the vacant property registration does is increases those fines and increases the way we go about, I guess, filing, because currently they file once and they're done. So we want them to file, if your property is vacant this year, you pay this amount. If it's vacant the next year, you pay more, and then the next year you pay more again. So you're paying, you know, if you're paying $75, this is not the exact amount, but if you're paying $75 this year, next year you're going to pay $150. If you're paying $150 this year, then you're going to pay like $250 next year. So it's really just to get the incentive for the property owner to want to sell the property rather than just leave it vacant. But at the same time, we also don't want to, I guess, burden property owners that do rent the properties and may not be able to fill the house quickly. So we have written in, and actually some of our planning board members suggested this, we have written in a little bit of code to make sure that we're not too strict in the vacant property registration as well, so that we're not, you know, if somebody's trying to sell a house and it doesn't sell quickly, they don't have to register it immediately. So.
And it looks like I just got the email from Pam.
It's quite lengthy, so.
Okay, so it may not,
Take a look at
it
it.
may not be a total good
Yeah.
use of our time right now, but it sounds
Yeah.
like some of this is to take a look at what they've come up with and to give feedback on it.
Yeah, so I believe if it's still in its current form, it's the underlined areas are what's changed and crossed out is what's being removed. So it's definitely pretty close to being done. It just needs some more eyes. And I think as soon as we get it moving forward, I think it'll really help us deal with some of these problem properties. Because there are some properties that we get called on weekly. So
Yeah, I was going to say this should definitely address the habitual properties that are, you know, a problem and the owner is not being cooperative. There
Yep.
needs to be some how that's addressed.
yeah, habitual offenders is key.
Yep.
So what's
Is there
the
anything that back to someone who's out of town? Recall we had that one case that kept coming back to us, and the actual owner had moved to Texas or something, and you know, wasn't even in town. They're falling apart.
You actually want to see the second email I just sent you. That the first one was a start of something, and then I found the full.
So with that, we have changed the definition of vacant property, whereas it's not just a foreclosed property. There is evidence of vacancy where we can have it be registered, or we can pursue them to register it for that specific case. Like that is like one of the key reasons why we went that way for that property itself.
Yeah, because the property doesn't necessarily have to be in foreclosure for it to be a vacant property and have, you know, problems over a number of years. They can still be paying their taxes and just have it vacant.
They could have inherited it, or, you know.
Right.
Jessica, what's your timeline for this? I mean, should we just take a look at this and then email you some comments, or is there time for us to wait till our next regular meeting and just talk about it after we've had a chance to review it next month?
That would be up to you guys. Your next tentative meeting would be on, look here. would be on, oh, nope. I jumped to February.
January 9th.
Would be on the 19th. So, actually that would work out okay. If you wanted to wait till then, but if you have a chance and you look through it before then and you see things, you are welcome to go ahead and send them to us. We can incorporate those ideas and send them out to everybody, so then everybody kind of keeps up with where it is, if you want to do it that way. But this is just something, because we are heading into months where they're probably, you know, we don't have a lot of cases usually during the winter.
Right.
This, you know, can maybe you guys can help us with your expertise in these areas and help us look through this, because yeah, we look at things so many times. Sometimes it's just really good to have fresh eyes.
You tend to look over some things sometimes.
Yeah, that sounds good. So we can just take our time, look through it, and then you're gonna if we have ideas for improvement or emails, that we'll email. You'll pass all the emails so we all can read them together. That sounds great.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
So maybe even aim for, I don't know, at least a few days, if not a week, but maybe before we meet next, to give you time to send it out.
Yeah, then I could have it included in the packet when I send the packet out
Good.
before the
That'd be
next
great.
meeting. That'd be good.
Okay. Fantastic.
Because, you know, you got nothing to do over Christmas, right?
Okay. So does that kind of meet your needs, Jess, of what you needed to convey about the
Yep,
code?
that pretty much sums it up. Yeah.
And
Okay.
if things pop in your head of other things that have come up where we've said, you know, the way the code is written isn't clear in that area, or, you know, needs to be adjusted in some way, because we try to make notes of that, but then of course things do get lost in the shuffle over time. So if you're thinking of things like the wood piles, you know, any of those ideas that you're like, you know, that's probably an area we want to look at, throw those out there and we'll add those to the list.
Okay.
I think it's good that this is being looked at, because there are a number of things that probably need to be updated.
Most definitely.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds good. And maybe, you know, good use of our next meeting time if we don't, especially if we may not have any cases, or a smaller number at least, like you said, with the winter months. So have the variances, have the applications in general slowed down for things, Jess, for you?
Yeah, they've slowed down. They started to trickle in now. So they started to slow down around October. So
Okay.
it's gotten better. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that was the last item on our agenda. So is there a move to adjourn?
Glenn, I move to adjourn.
Second. Yeah.
Mr. Costi made a motion to adjourn the December 15th meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals and Property Review Commission. This was seconded by Mr. Burke. All in favor?
Yes.
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 All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great holiday.
right.
Stay safe.
Merry Christmas,
you.
everybody.
You
Thank
too.
you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
everyone.